feel like personally, if he was skipping lines at Valley Fair here in Minnesota and he was like, Google my name, that warrants a fist in the face. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it's been a while, but I wanted to do a review slash summary of The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. I finished this book in literally a day and a half, which I'm really proud about. Before I get into the review, I'm just going to say what rating I gave this book. A 7 out of 10. I was going to give it a 6.8, but I thought it was too harsh, so I'm just gonna give it a 7 out of 10. The main reason why I'm giving it a lower rating is because I cannot stand the grumpy and sunshine trope that a lot of booktubers love. I don't know about y'all, but I hate this trope, and I say hate because a lot of times the male lead is always the grumpy person and the sunshine is always the woman. Whenever I see this trope happen in real life, the man is literally like a Dementor from Harry Potter that sucks the life and energy out of the woman. It sounds good in theory for a man to be grumpy and the woman being sunshine, but he basically relies on her for happiness. The reasons why I love this book is that I could not put it down, which is great if you're someone trying to get back into reading or you just want a really quick, easy book to read. So let's get started on the review. When I heard the name Zahra, I thought she was Arab for a second, so I was really excited. I was like, ooh, representation. I was kind of excited that she was Arab, but she's actually Armenian. And I was really surprised that one of the main female leads had an Arabic name, which was pretty cool to me. So Zahra is a very bubbly, positive, optimistic, sunshiny girl that's 23, and then she was actually working as a hair salon slash makeup artist for children, basically giving kids a princess makeover. She had a really bad nasty breakup with a guy that also worked at the dream park. His name is Lance. She didn't just want to be like a beautician, she actually wanted to become one of like the creators on the board, and basically Lance also wanted that dream, so he just like had a relationship with her, took all her ideas and dipped. Took everything that she wrote, or like all her creations, spinned it off as his own, got a job as one of the creators of Dreamland Park, and then basically finessed. So it was a really bad breakup for her, so she was really hurt and became very distrustful of people. Rowan is Mr. Grumpy. I haven't smiled in years, I haven't laughed in a long time. Listen, I'm biased because I really don't like the grumpy sunshine trope. I really don't. But basically Rowan is a very miserable, sad guy who has daddy issues, mommy issues because his mom died of cancer, and his dad, because of his grief, because of what happened to his mom, turned to alcoholism and started drinking a lot and started to neglect him and his two brothers. And because of his mom's death, his dad became a very miserable, sad person that made him lose passion for drawing and made him feel bad because he wasn't into sports and things like that. So he became a shell of a person, very bitter, resentful, and he basically started taking it out on a lot of people. So when he was a director of Dreamland Park, basically a position that his grandpa gave him, he basically made life hell for all the employees. So he cut their wages, he refused to give wage increases, he just made life really hard for the employees at Dreamland. And basically when his grandpa died, he wanted to give a task to not just him, but his two brothers and his dad. For Rowan, his task was to find the weaknesses in Dreamland Park and come up with a solution and have a board of members, like I don't know how many, 20 people, agree and vote yes on this proposal. And then that is the only way that you can get $25 billion from the grandpa. Zahra, let's go back to Zahra. So Zahra wanted to be a creator so bad, so her friend basically forced her to submit an application. When Zahra made the proposal for that ride that Lance stole, Lance took it and then put his own spin on it, basically ruining what the ride was supposed to be. So then Zahra's proposal was to basically tarnish, like basically drag that ride to the filth for Rowan to read. And Rowan read it, and then he was like, okay, I accept you as one of the members of the creative board, and you're going to help me create ideas for the next ride, or the next, basically ideas for the park to make it better. So Zahra was very excited, she was very happy, and she was like, oh my god, I got the promotion, I got the job. But Rowan was starting to have feelings for Zahra. So the problem was, Zahra, she already had an idea that Rowan was starting to catch feelings for her. He was being hella creepy. When she was doing a makeover for one particular guest, like a little girl at the park who was sitting on a wheelchair, she went out of her way to make that guest comfortable, and then Rowan was like standing there looking at her through a mirror like this. I'm sorry. Okay, let's be serious. Let's be serious. So basically, Rowan was being very creepy. The thing is, we're supposed to be like, oh, that's so cute, but when you really think about it, that's not funny. He's literally like watching her through a mirror, watching her do her work. It was just very strange. But then Zahra also had a connection with him, and then after a presentation meeting, Zahra and the other creative team members were being terrorized by Rowan and his nasty, evil, negative Dementor energy, okay? So he comes in with a really nasty attitude saying, okay, everybody present your ideas. And then he's just sitting there with the nastiest attitude. And then everyone presents one by one, and he's looking mad and madder. And then she finally gets up, gives her presentation, and she can't draw to save her life. She is a terrible drawer. So let me give an example of what she drew. Ta-da! So she drew something like this for an idea for a roller coaster ride, and it was absolutely horrendous from what she said. So when she's done with the presentation and she's showing her sketches, she was just planning to just like skip through it as fast as she could. But then Rowan over here was like, go back a slide, and she was like, no, we don't have to. And he was like, no, go back a slide. And she was like, are you sure? It's not necessary. And he's like, go back. And then she shows her like kindergarten level drawings, and you know, let's not clown her too much. Not everybody's a drawer, okay? But then basically he was like, everybody make your presentations more like Zahra's except for the drawings. And then he runs away. Zahra was like, okay, great, he approved my presentation kind of. And then she goes back to work, and then Rowan decides to tell her like, hey, there's somebody in the animation department that can help you with your drawings. Give me your number so I can have him text you. So basically Rowan comes up with an idea to be even more creepy and stalkerish, okay? He said that there was an animation worker that was willing to help her with her sketches, which was actually him. So then what happened was she hands him her number, and then he basically comes up with a wonderful alternative ego called Scott, which showed his true self. And basically he started texting her as Scott, and then he was like, hey, I can help you with the sketches. And then she's like, okay, here's my sketches, here's what the idea is. And then basically they've only been texting each other. So then what happened was Scott hands over Rowan the sketches, and then basically Rowan comes into the office to Zahra's office and hands her that sketch. And then she's like, oh, thank you so much, it's amazing. I really want to say thanks to Scott for what he's done for me. And then he was like, oh, he doesn't need no thanks. And then he walks away. And then one day she puts up a flyer with like little rip-off papers, I forgot what it's called, but basically she is looking for volunteers for a mentorship program, and he basically makes fun of it. And then she loses her temper because she's like, who do you think you are? He gets curious, he gets possessive, so then he starts ripping off all the little flyer tags that are at the bottom and rips them all off, and then he takes the last one. So then Zahra comes out and she's like, oh my god, everybody volunteered, I'm so excited. And then he's like, yeah, sure. Nobody knew about this volunteering session that was going on, so the only people that came was Zahra, her sister Annie, her friend, and then it was just Rowan. So then Rowan gets partnered up with Zahra's sister Annie, who has Down syndrome, and they start to click and become buddy and friends. And what happened was they did like a crafts or something, I don't remember, and that was their first meeting. So then the next like 50 pages is about like the mentorship program, how he goes bowling for one of the mentorship events, and then he's bowling with Annie and Zahra is trying to keep her feelings for her boss in check, because basically Rowan is like her boss's boss, so she knows that this is not professional, so she's trying to keep her feelings to herself. But Rowan is like, I really want this girl. So things start to get serious between the two of them. And so here's my problem with Rowan, okay? He won't fix his nasty attitude. And then on top of that, when things start to get serious between the two of them, he said, I can only do casual. And I'm kind of sitting there like, well, okay. And I was really hoping that Zahra would pack her bags and leave, because I don't really respect guys who act like that, who say, let's keep it casual. Like, boy, bye. Like, you clearly have feelings for her. We can tell that he has feelings for her from reading this book, and he's acting like, oh, more than casual is too much for him. So, but surprisingly, Zahra agrees to the no casual thing. I mean, keeping it casual. So she's like, yeah, I'm okay with keeping it casual. So then things start to get serious. Between the two of them. She starts going to his house, wink wink. He introduces himself to her family, and then Annie thinks that she's being slick, but she's trying to ship the two of them desperately. She thinks that he's better than Lance, her ex-boyfriend, and they basically go on a date, and that is when Zahra and Rowan actually meet Lance. And basically, I didn't tell you what happened with Lance. So Lance basically, after he stole her idea and dumped her, he ran and got engaged to another woman and married her. So it happened so quickly that it really broke Zahra's heart. So when they were on a date, she saw Lance, and also Rowan saw Lance, and Rowan walked up to him and tried to be all badass, and he was like, hey, congratulations on your promotion. And Lance was like, what's the promotion? He was like, you're going to Shanghai, bye. And basically, if he does not agree to go to China for another location of the Dreamland Park to work there as a creator, he's basically done. So basically, Rowan did some sort of blackmail on him. Lance was basically screwed over, and everyone's supposed to be like, yay, this is great. And then Zahra was very happy about that. And then things start to get even more serious between the two of them. And then Zahra, one day while she was working, he comes to her office, and then he's like, where's Zahra? I don't see her. And her boss was like, actually, she took the day off and she's working, but she's riding the rides at Dreamland Park because she wanted to experience the Dreamland Park from a customer's perspective. Like, basically, she was doing like a UX design thing. She was like, let's see things from the user's view and see what to change and not change about the rides. So then basically she's standing there on the standard pay line. You know, there's a fast pass line, and then there's like a normal line, and she was standing there waiting at the normal line, and then Rowan gets Zahra's number from Scott and texts her, hey, where are you? Basically, he's supposed to be working, but then he goes to Zahra, and then he finds her in the line, and then he just like joins her in the line. But basically, there were people who were mad at him for skipping, and then he was like, look up my name is Rowan, and whatever his last name, Rowan Kane. And then the people Google him, and they're like, oh no, you're the director, I'm so sorry, sir. I feel like, personally, if he was skipping lines at Valley Fair here in Minnesota, and he was like, Google my name, that warrants a fist in the face. Like, I feel like, you know, Minnesotans are Minnesota nice, right? But we don't play about people skipping lines, okay? So yeah, what he did is not going to fly anywhere else, okay? So he skips the line, and then he stands there with Zahra, and he has a wonderful day going on the rides with her. So what happens is they get even more serious, and then he takes her on a trip to New York City, and basically she goes on a jet or like a private plane, and she lands in New York, and she's having a great time. There's real snow, and they had a very nice time together that day at one of his many, like, I think he said he had 24 homes or 24 properties that he can live in, and he has one in Chicago, one in New York, one in Florida. So basically a rich boy. Just a lot of sightseeing. They had a great time, but basically she got really sick after. She got really sick, and they flew back to Florida. And then she was trying to go to work, but she obviously was really sick. But then what happened was, instead of staying at her family's house, she started staying at Rowan's house, and she started to get more and more sick. And basically Rowan starts to get really worried, so he hires a private doctor, or like pays for a doctor to come to the house to check on her. And the doctor was like, well, she's been sick for 3 days, this is a sign of pneumonia, she needs to go to the doctor, but if she doesn't go to the doctor within 24 hours, she's going to be forced to go by ambulance. So basically he was like, hey, take it serious. So then when Rowan is trying to bring the doctor back downstairs and saying goodbye, Zahra had the great idea of standing up and trying to grab her phone, and then she starts seeing black, and she tips over and hits her head hard on the ground. And that's when things get really bad. So she had a really bad head injury, and she was bleeding a lot. Rowan starts to shut down mentally. He's like, this is why we don't love people. I didn't know I loved her that much. So he basically started going off on this tangent, like in his brain, that we were reading, which sounded absolutely horrendous, okay? That was a very long, torturous 3 pages of my life, okay? So basically Rowan is freaking out, saying, oh, this is why things can't be serious. There's no point of love. Look what happened to my dad when he loved. He became a shell of a person. I can never love. I need to end things with Zara. So it's like, are you serious? This girl is literally dying, and the last thing you're thinking is, if she survives, I'm going to cut things off with her. So basically she wakes up after like a whole week, I think, and he visits her, but then he starts ignoring her and only talking to Annie. And then what happened was, when they were alone one by one at the hospital, okay, while she's trying to recover, he's like, you're the biggest mistake of my life. Girl, this is why I don't like the grumpy sunshine BS, okay? Because the man is literally a dementor, okay? He sucks the love and joy out. Oof. Okay, anyways, let's go back to the story. So basically he's like, you're the biggest mistake I've ever had. I regret the day I met you. We can never be together. I was never going to be a director longer than 6 months. I am leaving for Chicago. We need to end things off now, blah blah blah, basically breaking this poor girl's heart. So let me get this straight. You took her on a trip to New York. You followed her around like a creepy stalker. Oh wait, I forgot to tell you, when she finally found out that he was Scott. So basically when she found out that he was Scott, she started ignoring him for a long period because she thought he was a liar like Lance. So basically that was already a second strike for me. That I mean, I would have walked away the second he was pretending to be Scott, right? So she was falling in love with the guy named Scott, the guy she was texting, which was actually Rowan. And then she started to really hate Rowan for making her feel like she was playing two people, when in reality she was just talking to the same person. And she started to regret having feelings for Rowan, because she was like, well, why even like you if you're such a sneaky, manipulative person that will make me fall for two people at once? So after that second red flag, they went to New York. Everything resolved. They became friends again, or like serious again. But then at the hospital, he's breaking her heart. She's like, okay, go away. I don't want to talk to you right now. And she's trying to not show her hurt in front of him. But then basically a week passes after that, where she's like heartbroken. She's moving on. And then this guy decides all of a sudden to go take a trip to his dad's house, okay? So he flies to his dad's house. He knocks on the dad's door, and he's like, would mom be happy with the man that you are today? And I was like, damn. But basically the dad was like, no, she wouldn't. And he was like, do you ever regret meeting my mom? He was like, I'll never regret meeting your mom. Rowan was like, even after everything? He was like, yeah, even after everything. So then Rowan decides right now, at this very moment, this is why. Anyways, I'm gonna try to be nice. But basically Rowan discovers that love is not something that you can sacrifice just because it can cause a lot of pain. Whoop-de-doo-dah, zippity-yay. Oh my god. But anyways, Rowan decides, he had an epiphany. Oh my god, love. You cannot sacrifice love. I need to go make it up to Zara. So then he starts going back to his stalkerish ways. Christmas night. Boom, boom, boom. I need to speak to Zara. So he's talking to Zara's friend. And then Zara's friend is like, it's Christmas. What are you doing? Like, go away. But then Zara's like, what do you want? And he was like, you want to make a Christmas house with me? And then Zara's like, goodbye. Goodbye, Rowan. Because I'm like, the fuck? Who do you think you are, bro? Like, why? You just said she was the biggest mistake of your life, and now you're saying, do you want to build a snowman? Like, goodbye, Rowan. But anyways, he doesn't stop. He makes the sad excuse of a gingerbread house, takes a picture, and he's like, I miss you. And then, and then he's like, he comes to her job, and he's like, he comes back to the office, and he's like, I miss you. I'm sorry about what I said. I want to get back together. It's like, bro, you literally broke this girl's heart. Like, leave her alone. But anyways, he doesn't give up, right? But then all of a sudden she gets a letter from Grandpa, who makes everything worse. So Grandpa from the dead gives her a letter. Basically her boss gave her a letter saying, congratulations, you are one of the members of the board, and you're going to vote on whether Rowan gets $25 billion or not. So then she starts thinking, if I was already one of the members of the board, the creative board, because Rowan's grandpa wanted me to be, was he using me from the jump? So she basically was like, if Rowan knew that I was going to be one of the members that was going to vote over whether or not his presentation is successful, was he using me this whole time? So now she's really mad, and she starts to think like he is such an evil, manipulative person, which is not, I mean, I can understand where she's getting this idea from, because if he's going to really break her heart while she is dying at the hospital, he can do anything, really. So anyway, she starts to assume the absolute worst. So actually, she gives a presentation talking about disabilities at the Dreamland Park, and it was amazing. And then she was like, oh, this is my last day. And then all the other creatives were saying goodbye to her. And Rowan was like, no, you can't quit. And she was like, well, I just did. And he's upset, and he's like, no, everything is going away. I'm losing everything. So when it was time for the presentation, he gives the best presentation. I have to admit it. He gave an amazing presentation about how he needs to increase the wages of his workers, because there were workers who were literally could not afford healthcare, could not afford like cancer treatments that they had. So because of his minimum wage cuts and the fact that he did not want to increase minimum wage for the workers, he said that the reason why Dreamland had such an amazing experience is because of the employees, and his proposition is to increase wages by 50% for all the employees so they can have a livable life, and the ones that plan to leave within 5 years will not leave anymore. So he gives a presentation with a lot of emotion. He starts talking about a lot of things, and you know, Zeta starts crying because he's talking about her sister Annie and the mentorship program and how he learned a lot about disabilities and blah blah blah. And everybody is like, oh, this is a great presentation. And then Zeta goes up to Rowan's dad and says, F you, and you can go F off, because basically she's like, you are a disgusting piece of work and you should be ashamed to call yourself a father of what you did to. So basically, even though Zeta pretends that she does not care about Rowan anymore, she obviously does if she's gonna cuss out his dad. So then the dad doesn't say anything and she just walks away. What happens is Rowan texts her again saying, hey, can we talk? And then he's like, I'm so sorry about what I said. I'm gonna be a director forever. Don't leave me, basically. And she's like, oh, okay, I'll give you a chance. And then they make up, and then he's like, I want to spend forever with you. And she's like, okay. And then the author has the audacity to give us 2 epilogues as if that will change my decision and my bias against Rowan. You could never make me like that guy. I don't like that guy. But basically, there was a sweet epilogue about how they made the park, the ride at Dreamland that they were planning for the last 3 years. So it's like 3 years later, they're cutting the red ribbon for the park, and then she's cutting it with Rowan, and everyone's like, ew, you two lovey-dovey, your PDA is annoying. And then there's another epilogue about Rowan and Zeta's child, and how the child keeps reading this book about their story. No. But anyways, that's the end of... That is the recap of the fine print. Anyways, even if you feel like I already spoiled everything for you, I really recommend reading this. This is pretty nice. A lot of people were saying that they did not like this first book either, and they would recommend reading the second and third ones because they're a lot better. So I recommend, I'm getting the second book as soon as I can so I can give my review. But anyways, like, I'm just really happy that I was able to read this book in a day and a half. Like, basically, I was not able to read for a very long time. It's really hard for me to pay attention to a book, especially without meds, okay? So yeah, I'm still gonna give it a 7 out of 10. The rating is not based off of her writing per se. It's more like my personal biases against the grumpy and sunshine trope, because like, especially in this book, we can see that this guy needs therapy. He doesn't need Zeta, he needs therapy, because if the only way he can smile and laugh and be a human being is because of another woman, that is not a good person. Basically, the only reason why he increased wages is because he met Zeta. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really like that idea that if he couldn't crack a smile. And then I don't like how Zeta was also like, I can fix that. She basically was like she was basically like, I'm not gonna be mad at anything he says, even though it's very hurtful to most people, because I know he doesn't mean it. Like, nah, sis, get your self-esteem. I don't know, it's just, I don't mind friends to lovers, I don't mind enemies to lovers, but I just don't like the grumpy sunshine thing. Nope, I don't like that at all. But anyways, this was a really good book to read. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. I am literally 1 subscriber away from 6,000. I feel like by the time I upload this video, I'll be at 6,000 subscribers, which I'm really happy about. But yeah, I was really happy about this book. Let me know what your opinions or thoughts are on this book. I think, like, I don't know if I want to buy the actual book next time, but I feel like I like to bookmark books now. Ooh. So I don't know if I need to buy the physical copy or if I should go on Kindle, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye. You go